Are you sure you hit him?
Saw him fall, didn't you?
Yeah, but I don't see any sign of him now.
He's drifting with the current. Now stop worrying. I've never missed an easy target like that. Well, now that was real thoughtful of him. Having coffee ready for us?
Don't you think we ought to go back and report this?
Putin said he and Boone were due to leave at sunup. Should put him here sometime around noon. All we got to do is wait.
Roughly speaking, this is the beginning of the trace. One direction takes you into Charleston, the other through the Gap.
Well, according to my chart, that puts us 65 or 70 miles from our destination.
I'd say that was close.
Are you sure the president's coach can travel this wilderness without getting trapped in swamp or underbrush?
Well, it's not exactly a post road, but it's passable.
How long do you think the trip will take?
2 days, fast traveling.
Well, in the circumstances, I think fast traveling might be advisable.
Uh-huh.
Our only problem is to find the places where he might be vulnerable to attack and to pick a campsite for an overnight stop.
I'd be glad to mark those on a map. Save you trouble in taking the trip.
There's no offense intended, Mr. Boone, but I prefer to see them for myself. I am responsible for their safety.
How many will be in the military escort for Mr. Washington?
4 cavalry troopers and a driver.
4 troopers?
It's Colonel Lampert's idea. He felt that a larger troop might attract attention.
Well, if it was me, I'd swap a little attention for a few more men.
You're forgetting Colonel Lampert and myself. Also the men who are working under me.
How many's that?
I'd prefer to keep that a secret, Mr. Boone, even from you. Shall we proceed?
I know very little about assassination, Mr. Newton. But if I was going to ambush somebody on this trail, this is the spot I'd pick.
Inclined to agree with you, Mr. Boone.
All a man would have to do is push a rock up there, down on the road, and sit back and take pot shots at anything that moved. No room down here for a team to turn and run.
How far does this road run through the gorge?
Not more than a quarter of a mile. But that's far enough.
You can rest assured, Mr. Boone, I'll keep this place in mind.
Sergeant, post your men.
Good evening, sir. Is there something I can do for you?
Yes, have you a Captain Edgar Newton lodging here? I'm Colonel Lamport.
Colonel, I've been expecting you. Captain Newton left at daybreak along with Daniel Boone.
Ah, well, then I expect he gave you certain instructions prior to leaving.
That he did, sir. He told me to clear the house and close the tap room for the night. There's no one here except me.
Very good. Mr. President, your lodgings are ready.
Stand at ease.
General Washington. Oh, Mr. President, I never thought I'd have the honor.
Colonel Lampo tells me you served under me throughout the war.
It's always a pleasure to greet an old comrade at arms. I presume you have my lodgings ready?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'll dine in my rooms. It would be my pleasure if you join me, Colonel.
I'm afraid I must ask to be excused, sir. I'd planned to ride ahead and join Captain Newton. I'm anxious to see that he's taken all necessary precautions.
I'm flattered by your solicitude for my safety, Colonel. You really deserve a rest. But then you never were one to take your duties lightly.
Thank you, sir. Then I'll join you tomorrow somewhere along the trace.
Very well. Convey my best regards to Mr. Boone. Say I look forward to our meeting.
Yes, sir. Good night.
And now, my genial host.
If you'll follow me, sir.
So this is the spot you've chosen for our overnight stop.
It's about halfway to where we're going. It's as safe a place as I know offhand. With the bluff back behind us that protects us from above, there's only one way to get in.
I can see all that, Mr. Boone. I'm not objecting to your choice.
Expecting someone?
No, I just thought it was rather late. Perhaps we should get some sleep.
I'm willing. Before we do, why don't you call your dogs in?
What do you mean by that?
There've been two men tailing us since noon. Since they're no friends of mine, I figured they belonged to you.
You're a very observant man, Mr. Boone. Reports of your woodsmanship were not exaggerated. John, Mornay, come on down. Just an added precaution. If something happened to me, there'd be someone else to carry on. I'd like you to meet my two trusted aides. This is the great Daniel Boone.
We've met.
That we have.
Mr. Boone has been suspicious of me for some time. Tie him up, John.
Mingo was right about you after all. He said he thought you two had met before.
I was afraid he'd recognize me. That's why I tried to kill him yesterday. I trust you caught up with the Indian this time.
Early this morning. There's no cause for worry now.
We had to be eliminated, Mr. Boone. He knew too much.
I hate to interfere with your pleasure. Mr. Washington is expecting me to meet him. If I'm not there, I'm sure there'll be some questions asked.
I doubt there'll be any questions asked. You see, contrary to what you think, Washington is not at Mount Vernon. He's due to leave Clinch River sometime before dawn.
So you've done away with Colonel Lamport, too.
Let's just say Colonel Lamport is in good hands. Tie his feet as well, John. I don't think he'll cause us any further trouble. Tie him up, John, and I suggest this time you gag him. I don't think anyone will be traveling this road tonight, but we can't afford to take chances.
You're not leaving.
For the present, yes. It's important that the stage is set properly. Tomorrow he'll be found at the scene of the assassination, having died bravely in the defense of Washington. And bring up the horses, Mornay. I'm sure you prefer to die a hero, Mr. Boone. It'll be my pleasure to give you that opportunity.
see they got you, too. Thought you were dead. This is about as close as I care to come.
How long you been traveling?
Since daylight.
Well, if I didn't kill you, you ought to live to be 100. Now, you just sit there and don't try to move.
What does all this mean, Daniel?
It means we've been tricked. Washington's going to leave Clinch River in the morning. They're going to kill him on the road.
What about Newton?
Just bait for me, and I was fool enough to take it. If you, Newton, wants clean shirts and brandy.
How many were involved in the conspiracy?
Well, there's Newton. 2 more that I know of. And the ones that ambushed you. There's probably more. Washington has 4 troopers in his escort.
It's all my fault. I never should have lost my temper and left you. If I had stayed, sooner or later I would have remembered Newton, and we would have been on our guard.
You remember him?
Yes, now that it's too late. I met him at the Royal Military Academy in London. And his name wasn't Newton then.
Here, take a sip on this. This may burn a little. Stings a little bit, don't it?
Oh, it's not the pain, Daniel. It just seems a waste of good brandy.
I ought to hold you till I get back.
Get back? From where?
Clinch River, I've got to stop that coach.
Well, that's almost 30 miles from here. You better hurry, Daniel. The sun will be up in a few hours. Where is this ambush to take place?
I guess it'd be the Rocky Gorge. I'm afraid I laid it out for Newton.
There's not much time. Don't waste any more time here with me. I'll be fine. What about you? What if you run into them on the way?
Well, they'll think I'm still tied up here. That'll be my advantage, just in case one of them comes back. Is there anything else you want?
I just want you to be on your way, Daniel. Godspeed.
Stop toying with that confounded knife. You're getting on my nerves.
I beg your pardon. It's not every day I wait around to murder a president. Man's got to get used to that.
And I object to your use of the word murder.
Call it anything you want. It all comes down to the same thing.
You're not thinking of getting out, are you, Morny? Because I assure you it's much too late.
I didn't say that. I just said I didn't like the waiting.
Nor does any of us.
They're coming.
How far away?
I make it about a mile.
You and Morny better get to your posts.
Yes, sir.
Remember, shoot straight. We want those 2 advance guards down, and don't block the road too soon. The end of a long period of planning.
And the realization of a dream. Good luck to both of us. Like Julius Caesar?
Not alone on that, Daniel.
How did you get here?
If you could run 30 miles, I could walk 3. The president, I trust he's safe.
If you think you can walk a few feet further, you might ask him. He's standing right over there by the coach.
You mean to say he came with you?
First in peace, first in war. He's a mighty stubborn man.
Quite sure you're all right, Mr. Joseph. My congratulations, Mr. Boone, to you and your friend. And my eternal gratitude. I owe my life to both of you.
I reckon the whole country owes its life to you, sir.
No more than to the other men who fought and died for it. Well, now, it seems I shall be seeing Kentucky after all.
Yes, sir.
Your friend seems to be wounded, Mr. Boone. Would you both consent to completing the journey in my carriage as my guests?
Mingo, you wanted to powwow with the president. Here's your chance.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I think I'd better stay and do what has to be done. I'll join you later on.
Very well.
Dark and bloody ground. What a harsh phrase for such a peaceful countryside.
The land has seen much fighting, and will see much more before there's an end to it.
But there will be an end to it. Not in my lifetime, perhaps not in yours. Someday there'll be an end to this bloodshed. How do the Cherokee feel about it, Mingo?
The Cherokee are a proud race, Mr. President. At first, they fought against the whites. But our chief is a wise man. He no longer lives in dreams, but he's learned to live with reality. He knows that we must live together in peace or forever be driven from our lands. The choice is obvious.
And tragic, in a way. But there's no help for that. If all the tribes felt as you do, the problem would be simpler. Many lives that will be forfeit could be saved. It has ever been thus.
And ever will be.
The country is young. There is nowhere to go but to the west. Perhaps someday we'll even cross the Mississippi and move on to the westward from there.
The people will fight.
As long as man is greedy and the land offers wealth, there will be fighting. But enough of this. I came here to see if this country is suitable for land grants and to enjoy myself during my brief stay. There'll be grief enough when I return without borrowing from the future. You know, I envy you and your friend Daniel.
Envy? Us?
I envy you your freedom, your leisure, your time for hunting and fishing, for enjoying your life. I wish I could share it with you.
Even for a few days?
Even for a few days.
I think that might be arranged, Mr. President. I was on a fishing trip when I started this journey. The fish is still there. It's a splendid way to see the country.
An excellent idea, Mingo. I should have thought of it myself. Now, that's one promise I intend to hold you to.